Christians in the year of 1535.
So
Okay.
is Walter Williams saying that there's no
hmm
text, no written record of an Old Testament before 1475?
Well, he's saying that Martin Luther believed this, and this is why he used the Old Testament. And Martin Luther, believing this and going so far as to state that the reason why it's only the Old Testament, because he believed that that was the only genuine scriptural book in the Bible. And he says that when it comes on to additionally the New Testament, that Martin Luther associates as apocryphy, which is a non-canonical, pseudographical writing. Okay.
Right.
And he said that he was even so far to propounded that his contemporary, Decidius Erasmus, in the year of 1516, orchestrated the Synoptic Gospels. So Walter Williams is insinuating is that there was no Synoptic Gospel until 1516, which traditionally contradicts the stories of, it was written by these people at this particular time. We say, no, it couldn't be written at this time because it wasn't written yet. He said, what he is saying is that potentially the Old Testament definitely came before the New Testament.
So around what time, just to clarify so people can have something concrete to walk away with, does Walter Williams say or specify then when the Old Testament was written?
When it was written?
Not mass produced, but when we had first text or sightings of an Old Testament.
I would have to re-investigate to make sure. I don't think he specifically states that. I really can't say, but according to my memory, I don't remember him saying so far. And even in my additional studies, I know for a fact that there are little inserts in Psalms that date back tens of thousands of years ago. So I think that the thing that really establishes Christianity was the New Testament, because the Old Testament would promote that of Judaism, and that is when that Christ came that we have the refulfilling of the law. And it's that when the New Testament came, it changed a lot of things going on. And we see that because the Jews stayed, they say, okay, I'm Old Testament, and Christians say, well, there are some things in the New Testament that has changed, and when we see certain things like sacrifices and so forth. So we even see that as the history progressed, there became a dispute even between the biblical texts itself. As we talk about, we spoke about the J, we spoke about the letters Z, and he just says that that Z is etymologically most closely related to S, U, J, and I. And in other words, they are considered conjugate and related letters. That means that they are commutable into each other, interchangeable. So when you hear Zeus, Eus, Jesus, Seus, or Jesus, those particular words are interrelated, and they can be interchangeable, meaning that you can say those in different beginnings, but they mean the same thing.
So is that to say that they're all the same person, all the same
Yes.
image?
That's the insinuation.
Okay.
All right. Now as we come in the close of this information given by Walter Williams, what he states is that sometimes in his lectures, Walter Williams, he experienced people that ask the question that if what he is saying is true, and that there has never been a man that walked the earth in human form or any race, creed, color named Jesus Christ, then what do they put in place of that? And he says that his answer to that question, and I think that's very important, is that we individually have a divine spiritual birthright given through the she/he creator, who used our mother and our father bodies as instruments in order to produce us in human form. He even goes far as to say is that the air that we breathe essentially has a spiritual consciousness. And I mean, when we look at so interesting when we look at the term Holy Spirit is etymologically connected to the term breath. Breath being that which you breathe. Breath also is connected to chi energy. And chi energy is supposed to be an explosive power used to make the body be as strong as steel in one instant motion. And chi literally translates into breath, which is prana. And prana constructs our blood, our bones, and vessels. So what Walter Williams is saying is that there is a certain spirituality that we're missing out of due to the indoctrination of religion.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
How exactly would one be missing out on all these wonderful things, being born a human and already having access to all of these things? How would one exactly miss out?
Because our lifestyles, essentially, if and only if we are not cultivating that divine spiritualness in us, then we're not utilizing that spiritual consciousness that we have us. So naturally we'll see, well, I don't have any spirituality, what can I find it? So we begin to search outside of us due to the fact that we don't have the information to show us how we enlighten our spiritual consciousness. And he also talks about the pineal gland, which is that helps associate, which is the true reality versus the false reality, being able to understand things that begin to happen and so forth. So what he's saying is that there's a lot of work to do for us, that a lot of abilities that we have innately, that we have to begin to awaken. And I've dealt with these questions myself. I said, well, what if I choose to be a Christian, but still I utilize and bring in that consciousness and that spirituality? And if you do both things, then I don't think Walter Williams would necessarily have a problem with it, because you're still understanding. But I think what's important is not to be controlled by anyone, not to. And I think what a lot of people say when they say give up your intelligence, I don't think that's more so accurately speaking. I think what they're talking about is being controlled.
What do you mean by when people say give up your intelligence? What are you talking about?
Well, when a lot of people who are not religious.
A lot of people who are not religious hold this view that you're about to state.
Well, hold on. Let me do that.
Well, I'm just saying you use the term a lot. I just want to make sure that we're not, giving misinformation. I'm just saying, are you sure that for what you're about to state, that a lot of people who are not religious would identify with this philosophy that you are about to state to our viewers?
Well, what I'm saying is that a lot of people who are not religious, they develop ideologies and philosophies about the people who are religious. So, and I was using an example of when people say intelligence. When you give up your intelligence, essentially they're saying is you're giving up your ability to think for yourself. So you're allowing those who give you your culture, who give you your religion, who give you your political perspectives, in a sense they control you. Okay.
Is this something that Walter Williams has stated? Does he agree with the notion of giving up your intelligence for being under a particular religion?
Well, in his book, does he say that people give up their intelligence?
Yeah, of Christianity.
I don't think he specifically says gives up your intelligence. What I think he says is you give up your ability to be aware of why the development of these particular things, because and it inhibits you from understanding wholeheartedly how things have chronologically gone down in history. You see, I don't think he essentially states that it's in sense of intelligence, because intelligence is the ability to understand information and articulate information. That's what's been associated to the definition of intelligence. So what he's saying is that it's not necessarily the giving up the intelligence. He's saying that it's a sense of giving up. It's the sense that you're being controlled. Because if people give you certain things, like if I give you this and you accept it and you do that, in a sense I control you. You see what I'm saying? So what I was saying is that a lot of people who are not religious, they create their ideas on why people are not. Some utilize the information to say, well, this is that, but everybody is not the same. You see what I'm saying? So inevitably, some things would apply to other people, some wouldn't.